Here we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us all here today as I travel from the beautiful city of Chicago. And today we are moving on to chapter 2 in Rav Av, Shaar Habitachon. And chapter 2 is very important, as is everyone, but it's important for the construction of how we build our bitachon. And what I mean by that is that chapter 2 is focusing on what are the qualifications for someone that you should be able to have full bitachon in them. And so when I say someone is because Chavos Havavos, in the beginning over here in chapter 2, what he focuses on is he focuses on the idea that before we realize Hashem is the ultimate and only possible person, not person, but Hashem is the only one we could have full bitachon in 100%, he focuses on that if we were to have bitachon in another person, what are those qualifications that that person needs to have in order for us to have bitachon? And so he's going to bring over here 7 characteristics, 7 different character traits that a person needs to have in order for you to have full bitachon in them every single day, full-heartedly, 100%. And he starts off like this. He says, we learned in the previous chapter that bitachon is defined as the blissful confidence that the provider upon whom one relies will supply whatever you may need. Meaning, we learned in chapter 1 that what is bitachon? Bitachon is that you rely on someone else. On that, not necessarily, we're not talking about Hashem yet, but we rely on someone else that person is going to provide us our sustenance or anything else that we need. And it's always going to be there for us. It says people often place their trust in other people, and how they place their trust in other people is by, if let's say this person is an extremely wealthy man, or a very powerful man, a very skilled person, and so we tend to leave our trust with that individual. Now, Chavos Havavos explores whether it's reasonable to have bitachon, the word bitachon, which is 100% pure and utter trust in another human being, in a human being. He begins by examining the qualities a provider must have in order to be worthy of having anyone rely on him absolutely. And that's what we said. That he's going to itemize over here 7 character traits that a person must possess in order for someone to have full trust in them. Oh, the word bitachon, which is 100% pure trust. And he starts off like this. He says, when we consider the criteria that would theoretically provide a basis for placing one's trust in a human being, hein sheva. There are 7 different criteria. And it's not logical for anyone to have bitachon in a human being unless the human being possesses 7 specific qualities, and all of them. Not just 1, not just 3 of them, not just 5 of them, but all 7 qualities. And he says, since the topic is about a person first, before we recognize Hashem, he's focusing on that thing. And he starts off like this, and we'll learn the first 3 or 4 of them. He says, the first criterion is, and by the way, on page 50, for those who are following along, and I apologize, and before we begin this part, I just want to say that the shir should be Leilu Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem Ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt, Rivka Bas Gavril Tzvi, and the Refuah Shalema Bakarv Mesholem Ben Sarah Rachel, and Refuah Shalema Miriam Basara. And so now, Achas Mehem, the first of the criterion is like this. He says that Ki ha'odam kishahu yedea b'chavera shehu merachim v'chomer l'lav. He says, for when a person knows that his fellow is compassionate and pitying toward him, and he says it's with full love, yiftach bay v'senuach nafshei Allah b'chol masha yiturcheyu min yonav. He will be inclined to trust that fellow and rely on him in any of his affairs in which he troubles him. He says he's never going to hesitate. If there's someone in your life, a friend, a wife, a family member, anybody who you know loves you true-heartedly and loves you so much, you're going to feel compelled to leave your trust in that person. Why? Because that person loves you that much that they don't want any harm to befall you. And now he says further. He says that the first basis of bitachon is that the provider should care deeply about the person, and that the person is comfortable placing his trust in him in all matters. That's the first criteria you have to have as being the trustee. Now, the next criterion, the second one is that one must know about the provider. So he's putting trust in this provider, that in addition to the love for one is placing trust in him, he will ultimately be aware of any of his needs. He's saying over here that other than the love that he has for him, it kind of triggers this thing that he's always there to, in anything the person needs, good or bad, he's always there for him. It's a she'eneinu mis'alem mimenu, and he never diverts his attention from this person due preoccupation with other affairs. V'lo mis'atzel b'cheftzai, and also is not sluggish in carrying out his deeds. He says, now you find this person loves you so much, doesn't want to see any harm come to you, right? So you trust this person. But now you have to make sure that this same person is also someone who has the time in the day. Now, I could want to help you from today to tomorrow, but what would happen is if I don't have the time in the day to help you, I can't help you. Even if I want to so badly, maybe I get sluggish, I'm tired. Things can happen and I might not come through, well, not because I don't want to, I just don't have it's just not possible. Something happened, something came up. Rather, the one placing trust in the provider knows he will always exert himself as determined to carry out his deed. For if the one placing the trust is not sure about all this regarding the provider, he will not have complete trust in him, right? So again, the second criteria is he has to be someone that I feel that is not lazy, is going to come through, he's the doer, he's the guy who pulls through with everything. He has to possess that, other than the fact that he loves me, other than the fact that he cares about my well-being. Because he knows that the provider sometimes has lapses of attention and sometimes is lax in carrying out his deed. So again, he's saying over here, every person can sometimes have a lapse. He's not going to come through every 100% of the time. And so again, the second criteria is he has to have full bitachon that every single time he's going to come through. Not just most times, but every time. But when the person who is bestowing his trust finds these two qualities, meaning the first one is he finds someone who loves him so dearly and is compassionate and pitying towards him, and person who's not going to have a lapse in fulfilling the needs that this person needs. So the trustee will be the person who's always a doer and always comes through 100%. So he said he provides great compassion for him, and how much the provider looks after his affairs with complete attention and determination. That, if you have those two things, he can have undoubtedly trust in this person. That's what he says. And that is it's very natural for a person to place a high degree of trust in an individual that loves you, cares about you, and as a person that's he's capable of pulling through on any situation. So it's very, very normal to do that. Now, there's a third criteria. He says the third criteria is that, great, he has these two criteria and that still doesn't make him perfect. Because again, we're working towards 7 different criteria that the person needs. His vashlish is the third of the 7 qualities a provider must possess in order for anyone to place unreserved trust in him, he have full 100% bitachon, is sheyeh chazak, that he must be supremely powerful. What does this mean? It's so that he cannot be foiled by others in accomplishing whatever he desires, and no impediment can prevent him from fulfilling the request of one who placed trust in him. What does that mean? It means, I have trust in you, you love me, you care about, and you're a doer. It's great. Third part is, are you capable in your, let's say it's an industry, or it's a topic, there could be other factors involved and they're going to hold you back. So you have to be the ultimate boss in your industry if you're going to help me out in something that I need from your industry, right? You have to be the person, the go-to that everyone follows. Whatever you do, everyone does that. But if there's competition out there, there's someone who's stronger than you. When he says stronger, he means somebody who's stronger than you in opinion, in outcome, in not necessarily personality, but basically he has more of a shpa on the community than he does, and this trustee has, then it's a problem, because even though I know you're gung-ho and you're going to go want to do it, but you might not be able to pull through because your competition is a little bit more fierce than you are. It says, Ke'im yeh chalash, and this is surely to be counted among the 7 qualities, because if the provider is weak, and weak meaning not in physical strength, but in whatever he's looking to help him with, he's not so good in that industry, that topic, or whatever it is, he's not the strength in that, he's not the ultimate king in that area, then he can't help him, even though he has love for him, even though he has compassion and pity, and wants to, and is a doer. His loy Shaar Habitachon love. One's trust in him will not be complete. And one may place some trust in him, right? You do because he loves you, cares, he wants to do it, but will not feel entirely secure that the individual will fulfill his needs. And even though it is clear that he has the first two qualities, meaning he loves him and he's a doer, he's compassionate towards one, placing trust in him, and pays attention to his needs, because the provider will be prevented from accomplishing things on his behalf in many situations. And so therefore, it's kind of like a roadblock over here, right? I know you care, but you're not capable. And while that individual will do his best, there are surely some things that he will be unable to accomplish. And because those who are more powerful than him in a particular field will oppose him, but when these three qualities, compassion, attentiveness, and supreme power, come together, now someone can have a lot more comfort in saying, yes, I have full bitachon in this person. And so to summarize today these first three criteria, in order for 3 of the 7 criteria a person must have in order to have 100% full bitachon. The first one is the person has to have provide his knowledge that that he loves him, right? He's pitiful to him, merciful to him. The second one is that the person is a doer. He's not sluggish. He doesn't have other obligations that he won't be able to fulfill. If he says, hey, I need between 9 and 5, I need you to do something for me, but this guy has a 9 to 5 job, he can't exactly do that, right? Or anything else to that matter. And in any category. And the third one is that he has to be the ultimate force in that field that you're asking for help, because if he's not the ultimate force, then he's going to have forces against him, and many times, or even a few times even, he's not going to be able to fulfill that. And so you can't have a 100% full bitachon in that person, because that person can't come through every single time for you. Undoubtedly, without any reserve, you can't have that trust in him. And those are the first 3 things that we learn from the criteria that someone must possess. And again, Rav Av is mentioning over here that he's talking about a person, not yet Hashem. He's working towards the fact that the only one that possesses all 7 of these character traits is Hashem, but we're still trying to figure out to see if we can find a person like that. And those are the first 3 that we're going to learn today. And Hashem, we're going to continue tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today, and I love you all.